Welcome to the Massage Life podcast. I'm Jordan Pearson. I was going to say registered massage therapist, but I'm not. I'm a chartered professional accountant, and I'm here with the legendary Melissa Pearson,
that's a new one.
who is a registered massage therapist. That's not new. I've used that one before.
Legendary?
Yes, you are a legend.
No.
I'm only trying to pump your tires because we had a huge fight today, and you're really mad at me.
First of all, it was not a huge fight. Second, I told you not to talk about it.
We try to paint this picture that we are perfect in every way.
I don't
And we
paint
are.
that
I really
picture.
want to, yes, we really want to give the impression that we live in marital bliss and everything is perfect and wonderful and our lives are perfect, which for the most part, that is true. I mean, I'm happy. I don't know about you.
Gosh.
Anyways, today we're talking about, how did you phrase it? Handling negative criticism?
Negative feedback. I guess criticism works too.
Okay, so I feel like I can really speak well to this today because I received a lot of criticism from you today about my behavior.
Because you were being a butthead.
I wasn't. I got a little off the rails. And anyways, I like to have fun. And sometimes I forget that it's not good to have fun at the expense of other people being you.
Okay, for our listeners, here's the thing about Jordan. Jordan likes to laugh and be funny, but like there's this line, right? You know, a line in the sand. And Jordan likes to tiptoe and sometimes just leap right over the line where it's like, okay, too much.
Yeah, the shore came in and got rid of the line that was in the sand.
Oh, is that the excuse?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not my fault.
It's the line. It's the line's fault.
I don't control the waves. Anyways, today we're talking about negative feedback and how to respond when people give you negative feedback.
And it has nothing to do with us having that spat today. This was pre-planned.
Yeah, it was pre-planned, but it worked out well.
It was pretty funny.
Before we get into it, I feel like we need to give a shout out to Jocelyn. She's like our biggest fan, right? You went out to lunch with some...
Yeah, Jocelyn and Olivia, they put together a little dinner for some solo. They wanted it to be like a solo practitioner Christmas party because she was saying ever since branching off on her own, she felt kind of sad that she didn't get to have that camaraderie amongst her coworkers anymore. So she's like, let's do a Christmas party for those who work for themselves. And so it was the cutest thing. Yeah, it was a great idea. It was really fun to get together. Yeah, she was like telling everybody about the podcast. I was like, no, don't tell them about the podcast. She's like, what?
That's awesome. Yeah, I always make that joke in my business and income tax course when I teach it in person, that you should throw a Christmas party for yourself. Because if you're a solo practitioner, the rule is you can throw 6 parties a year. Well, you can throw as many parties as you want, but for income tax purposes, you're typically only allowed to write off 50% of any meals and entertainment expense. But if you're throwing a big party and all of the employees at the company that you work at are invited to this party, then you're allowed to write off 100%. And you can do that 6 times a year. And so I always make the joke like, oh, you should have a party by yourself and just, go have dinner and sit there alone and then write off 100% of it and then go back home depressed.
Well, everyone was
sad that you have
invited.
no friends.
Just me.
Like party of one. That reminds me, a number of years ago, I went to Disneyland with my family. And we were standing in line waiting for the, what's the drop ride?
Drop of Doom? No,
the House of Terror.
House of Terror.
No, the hotel one that like.
I don't know. I never went on it.
I can't. People are screaming into in their cars right now. What is that called?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Did they discontinue it?
There's a ride at Disney World, and we were waiting in line, and the person running the ride asked out, party of one? Is there a party of one out there? And there was this person that started to walk forward. Now keep in mind, I was in grade 10 at the time, and so I was, I was an adolescent, and I feel like I haven't really grown up much since then.
Yes, we know.
But I shouted out in response. I was like, "Are there any losers around? Any losers? Party of one?"
Jordan.
And so the guy that was getting ready to go up, the party of one, he shamefully just like stopped. Anyways, I still think about that. I feel bad for that person.
See?
Anyways.
You're always just making fun of people.
But yeah, so if you...
I Googled it. It's the Tower of Terror.
Yes, Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
I had some of those words right.
Yeah. Twilight Zone Tower of Terror.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still a thing, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, anyways, it's a fun ride. There's like an elevator guy, and he's like, gets people to come on the ride. Anyways, party of one. So if you're a registered massage therapist and you're a solo practitioner and you don't have any friends, I mean, you can be friends with us. We'll take you out for dinner. We'll even pay for it. I mean,
We will. What are you offering here?
Well, yeah, we have no money. Who am I kidding?
We'll take you to McDonald's. Hey, McDonald's has a Happy Meal for adults now. Did you see that?
Yeah, that seems sad.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Anyways, we should jump into this.
Okay, enough
Okay.
of yes.
So that's all that I'm going to bring to this episode. The rest is on you.
Oh.
I have no experience ever receiving negative feedback prior to today.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and Jocelyn, you're the best.
All right. So first of all, receiving a negative review does suck. Like that hurts. You know, we put a lot into our work, and when someone gives us negative feedback, it's painful, right?
Yeah, it can hurt.
It can hurt. And so if you've received negative feedback, I feel it's hard. But it's important to handle it professionally and constructively, because at the end of the day, it actually is good to have feedback, right? Honest feedback, that's how we grow. And so if you can remove yourself emotionally and kind of, just distance yourself from feeling personal about it, then it can actually really help you. Sometimes you'll just get a, negative Nancy or whatever who's just cranky about everything.
Yeah.
But often these can be opportunities for us to grow. And so I think taking a look at it in a good way is really important. So my first tip is, if you receive negative feedback, to take a step back and breathe and do not respond to the review if you're angry. So sometimes, it triggers something in us. We want to respond right away, especially if we feel like the other person was in the wrong about what they're saying. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. Or, you want to respond right away. But if you're heated, I think it's really important to just wait and sleep on it and respond when you're less emotional about it.
Right. So give yourself some time.
Yeah. So once you've given yourself some time, it's also, I think, beneficial to maybe have someone else look at that feedback too. Right. To just get another point of view on it is important as well. So the second thing to do is acknowledge the feedback. So this is feedback if it's written, as a Google review or something like that.
So don't get defensive is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, you can get defensive, but just don't allow your emotions to get the best of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll be able to respond in a more tactful way if you give yourself time to cool down.
Right.
All right. So the first thing you want to do after that is acknowledge the feedback. So thank the reviewer for their feedback and for taking the time to write the review. So the first thing to do is just say, thank you so much for your review. I'm very sorry for your experience, right? So acknowledge that they're taking the time to write the review. And you'll want to apologize. Sometimes it's hard if you don't agree with what they're saying. So even if you don't agree, you do need to apologize for the negative experience that they've had, right? You can still apologize that they've had this bad experience.
Right.
So
kind of like me today. Like I felt like I had to apologize, even though
Hey, we're not talking about that anymore.
I'm just kidding.
All right. And then the next thing after you apologize is to offer a solution or an explanation. So I think it is important to offer your perspective on what happened, right? To explain why that happened, and then offer a solution how you can fix it, right? So sometimes the situation needs to be addressed. Like how can you fix it? How can you make it better? So obviously that's going to be different for every situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the most important thing is to maintain a professional tone. So obviously you're not going to want to call names or, throw this person under the bus at all. So again, just remain professional, avoid getting defensive or confrontational.
You can in your own head.
Sure. Write that in your diary at night.
I think it's we talked about this earlier last week as we were preparing for this podcast, but I had an experience at work where I was frustrated with a coworker who works in a different office. And this person has just burned up so much of my time. I've killed 3 days doing their job because they can't seem to figure out what it is that they need to do. And so I was like, okay, I'll just do it. And then when we finally got everything fixed, she still managed to screw it up somehow. And so I was just so frustrated. Mm-hmm. And so I had written out an email to my boss, who kind of has relations with this other person, where I was just like totally like threw this person under the bus. I referred to her as the most unprofessional and grossly incompetent person I've ever worked with, which isn't a stretch. Like I was just so furious, but then I didn't send it. I just left the email. I just let it sit. It was very therapeutic for me to just like, get my thoughts and feelings out on paper, just put it out there. But I did not hit send on that email. And then when I came back to it later on in the day, I was like, no, I'm not sending this, right? Once I had cooled down and everything was fine, and I realized that maybe it wasn't as big of a deal as it was. Well, it sort of is. But, it just, that wasn't the right response.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been helpful at all, right?
Right.
And so it was just, but it was helpful for me.
Yeah.
To be able to just like, okay, this is how I feel. And it's still, to some extent, that is how I feel about this whole experience. But it would have been really unprofessional for me to do that.
Right.
And so here I am calling her unprofessional, in an unprofessional way. So it just wasn't the best way.
Did you still respond? Like, did you still write an email, but you reword it?
I just left
Oh,
it.
you haven't
I haven't
sent
sent
anything. Oh, interesting.
No. So I just, I did her job. And then I did. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Right.
She could not figure out what needed to be done, which, this isn't one of those situations where, maybe I'm expecting too much of someone, right? Like, it would be like me expecting a registered massage therapist to file a T2 corporate income tax return, right? Like, that's outside the realm of your expertise. But I was talking to another professional accountant, like someone, and the thing that we were dealing with was really basic. Like, we're talking like accounting 101. Like, you should know how to handle this. You should know what you're doing. And she just had no idea what she was doing.
So maybe this issue still needs to be addressed, but maybe there's a better time or place or way or something to deal with it.
It's already been dealt with. Right. Like, in terms of the problem's been fixed and I can move on. And anyways.
Right. Fair enough.
Sorry for my side rant.
It's okay. This is your therapy. All right. So I'm just going to read an example of how you could address, like, putting all those pieces together that we just talked about.
Okay.
I'll give an example, especially if it was a written review on Google or something like that. So you could say, "Hi Jane, thank you for your review. I'm sorry to hear that you had a negative experience. I take all feedback seriously and would love to discuss this with you in more detail. Please feel free to reach out to me directly so that we can find a solution together." One of the most important things to note about writing a professional response like that is that response isn't just for that person. If it's in a public forum, if it's on Google, that response is just as much for future people reading that review, right?
Yeah, I love reading negative reviews.
Yes.
And then the responses to those negative reviews.
Agreed. So you've done that before. Yeah.
Oh, I've done it. Yeah, I do it all the time, right? In fact, I'm always very unimpressed when I see negative reviews that have no response.
Ooh, yeah, that's the worst.
Right? Because what it tells me is that, okay, this company is probably not very good because this person says so, and also they haven't responded.
Haven't even responded.
They have made no attempt to try and resolve this issue, so they don't care.
Maybe they have. Maybe they reached out to that person separately. But this is what we're trying to say right now. You have to respond.
Right.
And you have to respond in a...
I mean, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want,
sure.
right? But like,
if you don't want it to hurt your business.
Yeah. From my own experience, I have... I've looked at some negative reviews and thought, after reading the response, like, okay, this isn't that bad.
Right.
Right.
And the thing is, depending on how negative that feedback is, the truth is you're probably not going to win that person back.
Right.
Depends on how terrible of an experience it was. But if that person was that upset that they're going to write a negative Google review for you, they're probably not rebooking a massage with you, let's be honest.
Right.
And so the point of the response isn't really to smooth things over with that person. It's more so to provide, for other people who are going to be booking with you. Oh, this person, this massage therapist is reasonable. Oh, I see they're trying to fix things with this person. And if you can give a little bit of a, not a rebuttal, that's not the right word, but some explanation as to what happened.
Provide some context.
Some context, yeah, is really nice. Like if the person says, that therapist only massaged me for 10 minutes, that's the worst. And if you're like, yeah, that's because you were 50 minutes late for your appointment or whatever, right? Like you need to sometimes give some context in there. That way people who are reading it later will understand what's going on and have a positive feeling about your business. So that's important. So yeah, just remember, like, negative reviews can be an opportunity for growth and improvement. And I was trying to think back if I've received any negative feedback as a massage therapist. And of course I've been working for, 15 years now? Like
15 years?
I think I'm coming up on 15.
How old are you?
I know. I'm getting ancient.
Oh my gosh, your wrinkles on your face.
Rude.
I'm going to hear about that one later.
Sleeping on the couch
Yeah,
tonight.
sleeping on the couch tonight. You're beautiful, hun. I love you.
Anyway, so I have, I'll be honest, it's not a lot. Like right now, my Google reviews for my mobile business are only 5 stars. But at the same time, a lot of people, I think if they have a negative experience, they probably just don't rebook with you, right? Because it's such a one-on-one service. I think people feel bad leaving a negative review because they don't want to, hurt your business, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, the 2 experiences I thought of. One was in person. Someone gave me some feedback. This guy was kind of crazy. Like he helped carry my massage table. Sometimes I have people, well, I never ask anyone to carry my massage table for me, but I came in with my stuff and he said, "Oh, can I carry your massage table?" And then he spilled his pop all over my bag. In fact, I think it was maybe a beer. And then he didn't even apologize. Like he was just a wreck that day. Maybe he was drunk. I don't know. Hopefully not, because that's a contraindication. Anyway, this guy, at the end of the massage, I say, "Okay, we're all done for today. Like, take your time getting up." And then I say, "I'm going to go wash my hands." And he says to me, "Wow, that was a really abrupt ending to the massage." And I was like, oh, sorry. I didn't know what to say to that. I was like, "Oh."
Okay.
And then afterwards, I was kind of annoyed by it because, like, he was just kind of a funny client to begin with.
Right.
And I thought, well, that was ridiculous. But I thought maybe that's some constructive feedback for me. Yeah. Okay, maybe I do end it abruptly. I had never thought of that before. I didn't think that was the case, but I'm not the person on the table. Like it's kind of hard.
Right.
We have, as massage therapists, it's really tricky because we don't know what a massage from us feels like, what the experience is like.
Right.
And so I took that to heart after I calmed down. I was like, okay. So from that point on, I tried to make sure I really end the massage in a calm, like peaceful way and not just like, "Okay, we're done, bye." Like leave the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other negative response that I've had was when I worked at a spa. I had someone contact the receptionist or send an email or whatever, and they gave a little bit of negative feedback that they had told me that one of the areas that was bothering them was the IT band, and that I hadn't really worked the IT band, and they didn't feel like it was a very thorough massage. And so I sat down with my boss who was telling me this, and then also had to like draft an email to send to the client. And it was interesting because I had rationale for why I treated that way. So from the things I've read and from my experience, massaging directly on the IT band isn't super effective. It's not a muscle. The IT band is a band of connective tissue, and it's a very thick, dense band. We went to cadaver lab when we were in school, and I saw it on a cadaver, and it is thick, and it is not very malleable. And so in my experience, like digging in through there, you're not doing much. It's not helping. And so I find by massaging the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, TFL, you're going to have a better effect on that area. And so for that person, I worked all that surrounding musculature, like really in depth. But I didn't do a ton. I still worked on the IT band, but briefly, right? I didn't dig in through there. So I had rationale for this, but I never explained that to her during the treatment. Especially, it was a spa, and so I'd often try to make it very like spa-like. I wouldn't talk a lot during the treatments. Mm-hmm. I still don't talk tons during treatments because I like for people to relax. So it was actually it was interesting for me because I thought, wow, yeah, I could have explained this better either prior to the treatment, after the treatment, during the treatment, and I never did. I just assumed she knew my train of thought on it. And so it was a good learning experience for me to just have better communication with my clients.
Right. I wish I was better at giving constructive feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been for lots of massages, and for the most part, they're great. Like I'm not super picky, like I'm pretty easygoing. But there have been a handful of experiences where I've thought, it was okay, but like if they had just done this differently, or this was super annoying, right? Like, yeah. And I don't want to, yeah, anyways.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said before, it's tough because it's such a one-on-one treatment. You're with that person for an hour. You don't want to hurt their feelings. And so it's tricky. And what's hard is, like I said, I haven't had a lot of feedback lately, negative feedback, but I kind of wish I did because I'd love to grow. I'd love to improve. And so I've had this thought, and I should act on it, is to send out a survey to my clients that they can give feedback anonymously.
Right.
Because I'm sure they don't want to hurt my feelings. They're like, oh, I love Melissa, but I hate that she does this one thing. I hate when she, I don't know, I can't think of an example. When she turns me over, it's really abrupt. Or when she, I don't know, she breathes too loud or something. Like, I have no idea. Yeah. But they don't want to tell me that because they don't want to hurt my feelings. But if they can leave that response anonymously, then that'd be great. But if I do that, I'm going to have to be really open-minded to that.
It's so tough because like I see the value in receiving feedback anonymously, but sometimes, like, let's say for example, someone says they don't like that you talk very much, right? Or you talk too much. Well, that may be something that another person really likes,
Right.
and so it's like it's tough that because you're catering to so many different people and so many different preferences, and what one person likes, another person may totally hate.
Right.
And so you have to be, when you get feedback, you have to really, take it to heart and ask yourself, is there something that I can do to, make things better in my practice as a whole? But if it's something that seems to be very preferential, I don't know. It's really tough to kind of. That's why it'd be nice to know, like, hey, if Joe Blow doesn't like it that I talk too much, well, I'll make sure that I, watch myself when I visit him.
Right.
Joe Blow.
Yeah, the same as with pressure, right? So actually,
Yes.
I did send out a survey once before I opened my own practice. It was just to family and friends, and it asked for that. Well, it said that one of the questions were, if you've had a negative experience with a massage therapist, what was it that made it negative? And the responses were funny because a lot of people said the pressure was too much, and a lot of people said there wasn't enough pressure.
Right.
And so, same thing. If I were to put out, anonymous survey like this, I'd probably get similar things. And it's like, well, which person's which?
Yeah.
But what it's really telling you is that the communication isn't there.
Okay, I
Right?
see.
It's not exactly telling you you're doing anything wrong in and of itself. You just need to communicate better with your clients.
your
So what
clients.
you should be doing is asking them more frequently, how's the pressure?
Right.
Or asking it in a better way. I don't like asking how's the pressure because everyone always just says good or fine or yep.
Right,
You have to
right.
say, do you need more pressure than this or do you need less pressure than this? Just communicating better.
Right. Do you think it would be better to make the feedback not anonymous? Like, do you think people would respond?
I don't know.
I think they might, right? Like if you
try
approach it in a way where you say, "Hey, I really want feedback so that I can make my practice better, and I know that this isn't anonymous, and I don't want you to be afraid of hurting my feelings," right? Like, and kind of explain to them, if you genuinely care about me as a person and as a therapist and helping me improve, then please be honest, right? Because if somebody said that, like I think about the massage therapist that I saw recently, if I received an email from her and it was laid out exactly like that, right? There are a lot of things that I would share with her. And not like, I think her massage as a whole was great, but just little things with respect to her business that I think she could be doing to help her be so much more successful. Just like, don't do that. Or no, you need to have this set up and, just little things and these are things, and it's not just me saying, hey, I'm the expert and I know how to do that. Well, I kind of is in a way because, you've built up a successful practice and we know what types of things work. Now, is that to say that I'm the best at everything? No, I'm still learning. But in this space, I feel like there's some things that I've learned and that I can share with you.
Especially if that person's telling you that they are looking to grow their business, right? They're like, I've been slow. And it's like, well, I could give you some feedback to help you.
Yeah,
It's so hard to watch, right?
Yeah, I can think of 3 things you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's so tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to try it and then let our listeners know what happens.
Yeah,
So I'm really curious to do it. Like, my practice is really busy right now. Like, I'm not desperate for clients. I'm booked up weeks in advance. So it's not like I'm, grasping at straws to figure out how to make this business work. I'm busy. But I'm just curious more than anything. And one of the reasons why I'm curious is same as you, I've had a few experiences over the past couple of years where I'm like, everything was great except for this one thing. And I'm like, do people do that to me? Do they get a massage and they're like, everything was great except for this one thing? And I want 100% of the experience to be great. I don't want it to be 99%. So it's just about wanting to improve.
Right. I think the fact that you care about wanting to improve is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people go through life, and certainly there have been times in my own life where I've been this person where we're just like, don't care.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, yeah, I'm fine. Right? Everything's good. You're just kind of on cruise control, just coasting. But we should continually be looking inward and asking ourselves, how can I improve? How can I get better?
Yeah.
Right? And I think, this might be triggering for a lot of people, but I feel like as a society, some people have really grasped onto this mentality that like, we're good enough You know what I mean? And like I understand that mantra. Like I don't want to put anybody down or give the impression that like somebody's not good enough. But from my own experience, I've found that it really helps to recognize that, hey, yes, I have value as a person, as a human being. Like that is 100% true. At the same time, I recognize that there's room for improvement, right? If I just say, hey, I'm good enough, I don't need to work on getting better in any area of my life, well, then I'm never going to get better at all. I'm never going to improve. I feel like careful to say we, but I feel like me as a person, I try to do hard things, push myself so that I can grow and get better. Yeah. In all areas of my life. And we shouldn't be afraid to do that.
Yeah, and it's not that you want to be better than someone else.
No,
that's not the point. It's not like, oh, I need to be better than those around me. It's about achieving your true potential. I think everybody has such great potential to do amazing things with their lives. And when you just settle for mediocre, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right. Or when you when you push back against negative feedback and say like, well, thanks for your opinion, but like, I'm fine.
Right.
It's like, well, no, you're closing the door on an opportunity for you to be able to grow and get better. Yeah. And so we should really be open to negative feedback. Yeah. And anyways.
Yes, I love it. So you're saying you're open to my negative feedback? Okay. No, just kidding.
I don't want to give the impression that we didn't have a big fight. It was just like, our marriage is good. It's solid. But if we get divorced, I mean, it's a good thing we have this podcast. So if there's any massage therapists out there that want to marry a CPA, just give me a call. You get free bookkeeping. I'm kidding.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, we better go before.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so. That was it for me today.
Okay. Love you guys. Love you, Melissa.
Love you too, Jordan.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to stay in touch, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We've included the links to these in the show notes. Also, be sure to check out our website, onlinewellness.ca, if you need any continuing education credits. All of our courses have been approved by massage associations across Canada. Anyways, we'll catch you next time.